Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing this evening? So good to have everyone. So tonight, just in line with, of course, all of us that are doing the Game Plan Boot Camp, I thought that it was really, really important for us to tell our story, but from a financial standpoint. Because again, I feel like because our products are so amazing, like we are constantly talking about the wellness because we can see the evidence, we can see the change. But sometimes when we look at the abundance part of Young Living, we don't really see how that can fit in our lives. We see that there's many people that have made it to the top. We've seen it at all angles. But I think it's so important to just define what abundance looks like for you and your family, and do it and go after it. Because I feel like sometimes we think that, like, oh, if I'm not Royal Crown Diamond or striving for Royal Crown Diamond or want Royal Crown Diamond, then is it really important that I'm doing this business? But all of us are at different places and might have different whys, and different places might be exactly what we need. So I know for us, there's certain goals that we have. When we hit silver, we're going to take our kids to Bethel. When we hit gold, we have plans to take our kids to Disney World. And my daughter even put platinum to Japan. But again, it means different things at different stepping stones. So we wanted to just talk about financial aspects and money. So we're going to be a little raw tonight. Okay. Raw. I don't think he fully read what I wrote for my story.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I guess I'll piggyback off of that. But like Dana mentioned, this is why this chapter I think is it's a really good chapter, and a lot of times, even myself included, excuse me, have skimmed over it in the past because it's actually very personal. And if you're not aware, if you haven't made it to that portion in the book, this portion has you write your story. And so it wasn't until I sat down and actually maybe started to retrace a lot of just what we've been through and how we've gotten to where we are now and what the outlook for the future looks like, that you realize how personal it is, really, that each and every one's journey is their personal journey, which is really important in establishing your why you're sharing with Young Living, like what you're looking to get out of it. And as I was sitting down and writing out the bullet points of how we got to where we are, it actually it did take me back and made me grateful for having an avenue like this, to be able to have a common goal to work towards, to make the next 10 years better than the last 10 years. Because we're going to share our story, but I mean, those that don't know us that intimately, as past 10 years have been a struggle. And there's been a lot of ebb and flow, so to speak, a lot of good things and bad things, and there's been failures along the way. And so I think sometimes when we do this call, maybe we present it in a light that everything is peachy and perfect.
It's so easy and great.
Exactly. But like Dana said, we're going to I'm going to use the term personal. I don't know why she keeps saying
I like raw.
But yeah, and we're going to share our story and encourage you guys to do the same. So you want to start with your story?
Yeah, so I wanted to start with first defining the word poverty. So when I sent out the reminder about the call, I sent our picture with hashtag poverty over. So poverty is the state of being extremely poor, the state of being inferior in quality or insufficient amounts. Poverty line is minimum level needed to secure the necessities of life. Sometimes I think when we think poverty, we only think money, but that's not all that poverty is. There's so many, especially in our country, that are living in poverty, and it's not just from a financial standpoint. It could be in poverty when it comes to their time. Their kids could have all the things in the world, but they don't have their parents. They don't have the time to be and build relationships. You have people working 2-3 jobs just to make ends meet. You have people out there, you know, maybe the husband is working these amount of hours and then he gets home and then the wife works these amount of hours. And the kids never see, you know, them together. They don't eat together anymore. So poverty is so much bigger than just from a financial standpoint. So when I start and I'm actually going to start like personally just with my story, because for me, I started working when I was 14 years old. I grew up with a very strong work ethic and a powerful understanding of money and business. That's one thing that both my father and my mother instilled into us. I remember as a child, my grandfather on my mom's side, like, he always drilled into us, you always save 1/3 of whatever you make. So if you know, whatever your check was, if you were making $100, $33 had to be saved. You don't touch it. It's like it doesn't exist. You only made, you know, whatever was left, and that's what you live on. That's what was ingrained into us as young people. And my father was the same way. You know, if we wanted a pop, we bought our pop. Like, you didn't go in the kitchen and you wanted candy, this is how much it is. I remember even in high school, my father taking me to Sam's Club, buying candy. I bagged it up, took it to class, was selling out candy bars, and then he asked for his cut when I got home. Yeah. So again, when I was 14 years old, I started working. Excuse me, sorry. I actually, at 16 years old, moved out of my parents' home and moved on my own. At 16, I was working 2 jobs. I would work around my school schedule. Sometimes I would skip school. And it got to the point where, for me, I never wanted to live in financial poverty. So for me to get out of that, I thought I needed to work more. In my senior year, I actually dropped out of high school. Many people might not know that, but I dropped out of high school because it was getting in the way of me making money. So I worked 2-3 jobs. I had my little hustles going on, and I had all of this money and all of this, what I thought was freedom, but I didn't have friends. I couldn't go out because I didn't have time for any of that. So the reality was I was in poverty, but I was in poverty from a time standpoint. I couldn't enjoy all of this money and all these things that I was earning and that it was doing for me. So what type of lifestyle is that? And many, many people, and I know some of you might be able to relate, you're just too tired to enjoy your kids or enjoy your grandkids or enjoy your husband or your spouse, your wife, whatever it is, because you're working all the time. You're in poverty. That's not what, you know, was meant for us and how for us to live. So fast forward, I decided at some point I'm married, and it's like, again, he's working long hours. I'm working, going to school. We're not seeing each other. I was working a really, really good job, making very good money. So I decided at that point, I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to not have time with my family. I don't want to not be able to enjoy the fruitage of my labor. So I did sacrifice a good financial job because for me, my spirituality was suffering. For me, my relationships with my family were suffering. So at that point, I didn't understand that there could be other options. So I said, you know what, I'd rather be financially broke and spend time with the people I love than have all of this money. And so honestly, that's the decision we made. And we struggled. So now we have all this love, we have all this time, but now we're financially in poverty. We were broke, okay? Yeah, broke. And even up until the time we, started having children and stuff, I would work here and there. I would work at a few little places. But again, from a financial standpoint, it was hard. So for me, at that point, I decided, like, you know what, this isn't how I want to be. And it was something that I would constantly pray on. And I learned to live on less. But it's hard when you have to look in your cupboards and be like, well, what scraps can I pull together to make dinner tonight? It's hard when you don't have a car, period. Not like, oh, you have one car. No, we had a period we had 0 cars.
Taking the bus. Calling friends.
None. And I had a baby. I had my daughter at the time. And it's like,
okay, but to be fair, we didn't take her on the bus.
No, I didn't take her on the bus, but but again, you know, it's hard. I mean, it's hard when, I mean, honestly, there was nights where it had got so cold in our house that we had to go stay with other people because we could not financially make it work. We never went without, but again, that financial poverty, that's not what was meant for us, you know. Another thing that hit me like really hard is when I had to tell my daughter, like, we can't do tap dance anymore. Like I know that you want to do swim lessons. I don't have the finances to do these things. Like, that hurts my heart to have to tell my daughter, you can't do anything extra. Like, you can go outside and play, honey. That's about it. But from a financial standpoint, that's where we were. So constantly, you know, my prayer was, I'm not willing to sacrifice my spirituality. I do volunteer work. That is the most important thing to me. Whatever I have to do financially to support that, that's all I want to do. That was non-negotiable. I do not want to sacrifice the time with my family. I want to be with my family. It's non-negotiable. And I prayed on that. And I prayed on that. And when I tell you, Young Living came right during that period of time. And again, you don't know until you start moving towards those prayers. Sometimes we have a certain direction that we want to go to, but if you're not working in harmony with them, you're only going to go so far. So I say all of that to say that my daughter's in dance class again. You know, like, we don't have to, I'm not saying that, again, we're not Royal Crown Diamonds, obviously, you guys know that, but where have we been able to go financially by taking this serious and saying, you know what, this is the business that we're going to put ourselves in. Like, whether, you know, 1 million people show up to a class or nobody shows up to a class, we're having these classes, doing the work that's needed in order to grow. If you stay consistent, you're going to grow, period. Did you want to end?
Yeah. So Dana gives you her side. Side note, I didn't marry her for her money, but it was a nice perk. But yeah, Dana hit on some interesting notes because we have very different backgrounds. I grew up in a household where both of my parents worked. And I saw 2 people who were tired all the time. So for me, coming up from a young age was, I didn't want that to become me. I didn't want to be a person who was too tired to spend time with their family, too tired or didn't have enough time to do the things that they wanted to do. But I think it was very interesting because anyone who knows us know that we got married at a very young age. I was 20. I was not even old enough to drink at my own wedding. And I'm not going to reveal Dana's age. I'm sure people know it, but
it's not like I'm that much older.
She's a little bit older.
I'm only a year older than him. Like he says it like.
But I say that, I mean, because that actually plays a part of it. Because when you get married at a young age, it's like you're trying to play being an adult. So sometimes things aren't necessarily in order the way that they should be. So I'm even talking about not necessarily just from a maturity standpoint, but from a financial standpoint. You know? Here it is that you don't really know, especially as a head, what it's going to take to run a household. I think at the time it was just the 2 of us. So sometimes, even as a head, I made some head scratching decisions, you know. But it led me to a point where I decided, like, I want to be able to spend time with my wife. I don't want to be too tired. I was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And so at that time, maybe about a year in, I had got approached about joining a network marketing company. And I was like, oh, finally, like an answer. Like I see this as my way out. I'd rather do this. And we were starting to have some success with that company. And then ultimately, I think what happened is I just got bored with it. Like I'm not a very money motivated person. And for me, like it has to be fun and enjoyable. So at a point where it was like the money started to dwindle, and then it was no longer fun, I quit. And it's interesting because, you know, I could sit here and say, well, oh, that company wasn't as good and the comp plan wasn't as good. But the reality is there were people who were successful in that company, multi-millionaires. So at that point, I just wasn't willing to endure and to continue to stay consistent. So I quit. And by the time, you know, as we continue to go through and, you know, now we're starting to have kids, I'm trying to find different ways to provide for my family that don't take away from time. But unfortunately, in this day and age, it's very difficult to find. So I went back to school and worked at the same time. And there's a lot of just time and moments that I miss with my daughter, like when she was very, very young, probably her first 2 years. Most of what I got to see of Ayla growing up was on video. You know, and as a husband and a father, I realized that was not what I wanted. So fortunately, I was able to endure long enough to get to a point where I then had a job that didn't take as much time. I got to be home with the kids during the day and spend a ton of time with them, but now I'm not making very much money. So it's interesting because, you know, it seems like most jobs give you one or the other. Either you're going to have a ton of time and very little money, or you're going to have a ton of money and very little time. So when Dana came around talking about the fact that she was joining another network marketing company, to say the least, I was not very thrilled, just because of the failures that I had had before, and I knew it was me. And I was like, this is something that's going to take away from my time. Like I wanted to guard my time as much as possible. But I also knew that at a certain point, we were getting so behind in our finances. Like Dana mentioned, we didn't have a vehicle. This was not going to be able to sustain itself for me to take care of a family of four. So when I got dragged out to Salt Lake City,
always only say that.
no, I did literally get dragged.
Who would let their wife go all the way to Salt Lake City without them?
Exactly, that's what she said. That's how I ended up on the plane. Like, oh man, I'm a bad husband if I let her go. But I'm glad that I went, because it just, for me, it was like I got an opportunity to take another look at this industry through a different lens. Because as I mentioned, I'm not a money motivated person, but when I got to convention and I got to see that this company is more than just about making money, it's more than just oils. There's a whole, like Dana mentioned, there's abundance. Like whatever abundance looks like to you, like I want to be where the party is at. Young Living has, you know, classes and rallies that are fun. They threw a concert at convention past 2 years. And just really what it's given me is a vision of where my wife and I can go and how we can provide for our family and have the things that we need and the things that we want. And so for me, that's very personal to get to a point where we can sustain taking care of our household and still have time to do the things with our family. Because the one thing that tugs at my heart the most is when I get home from work and my kids are like, come play with me. And I'm like, okay, daddy needs 2 hours. He needs 15 minutes to get himself together. He needs an hour. And then you get caught up in the day-to-day hustle and bustle and don't have the time. So like Dana mentioned, you're either financially impoverished or you're robbed of your time. Young Living gives you a vehicle to be able to have both of those back. So that's why we take it so seriously.
And I know for me, again, we're still on the journey. So many of you know that we're pushing for silver. We're still at the executive level. So at this point, I've been able to pull back from, you know, doing as many services at the spa. I've been able to supplement a part-time income. So this has allowed me to now homeschool my daughter, which is something that, you know, we've always wanted, me to be home with my kids. And that's what I want. I want to be able to make dinner for my husband. Like, I want to be at home. That's what I want. Again, I want my ministry to be the foremost. I want my kids out in the ministry with me. I want my husband out in the ministry with me. That is my foremost. So if it was not for Young Living, I would not have these opportunities. Everything else, even building my own brand, and don't get me wrong, I still, you know, Lady Day LLC, like, but building my brand takes time. You know, all of that takes time, and all of that still pulls away from my family. So for me to be able to do something that's still going to financially fund some of the other things that I want to do, and I can do it with them. My kids come to my classes with me. There might be times when my son is spinning in the middle of the room, because that's what it is. Like, there's many things that I can't, you know, do because I have my children. And that's one thing that I wanted. I want something, if financially we're doing something, I want us to be doing it as a family. I want my husband right there by my side doing it. I want my kids understanding what we're doing and be a part of our goals. They know that, you know, when we're having classes, when mommy's on the phone with teammates and things like that, like, every teammate is very important, because this is how we're going to reach our dreams, our goals. They are a part of it. They helped with the vision board. They helped with, you know, again, my daughter was like, Platinum Japan, boom, this is what we're doing. Like, so because they're so a part of all of this, it's a vision that they can grab onto as well. And when we hit these milestones, it's success for them. They know that mommy and daddy didn't give up. They know that mommy and daddy are building this with us and for us, something that can leave and be led for years to come. So my biggest challenge to you is, what is your story? What are you tired of doing? How are you tired of living? Like honestly assess your circumstances. Do you honestly believe that you can do this? So many times, you know that it's possible. Like, if you look at that income disclosure statement and you look at, you know, your organization personally, and maybe you've been sitting at a distributor, or you've been sitting at Star or Senior Star, and you're like, I just can't see how I'm going to get to Star. I don't see how I'm going to get to Senior Star. I don't see how I'm going to get to executive. It's possible. How do you know it's possible? We are there. Like, we are there. Like, so if we can do it, you can do it. Like, there's nothing, you know, superhuman about us. We don't have any more time than you do. We don't have any more resources than you do. Our circumstances is I mean, everybody's journey is going to look different, but as long as you stay consistent, you're going to be successful, period. You talk to enough people, you're going to have success. How you talk to them might be, I mean, game plan, has so many different ways you can do a class. Like,
and different scripts,
how you can talk about it. You can read right from the script if you want to. Whatever is going to work for you, but you can be successful at this. You can get to whatever rank is going to get your family where you need to be. Where is your destination? Is it platinum? Is it gold? Is it diamond? Is it royal crown diamond?
I just want to share this really quickly, because this is actually out of the workbook. So if you guys are following along, you should have the game plan book plus the workbook. But I thought it was very interesting, because in that challenge, there's a few things. Sarah shares a lot of her history of where she's been, but she actually puts it as she shares a lot of her dirt, just like Dana and I have. But every family has dirt. Every family has something that they've had to deal with growing up. But I feel like this is very interesting, because it says that I believe that the cycle can be broken. I believe you can change the course of your family's path by first believing that it's possible, and then coming up with a plan on how to get from point A to point B, and taking small steps to get there. So those consistencies that we're talking about, those are small steps. Doing something every single day or every single week, baby steps, until you reach from point A to point B. So this is why this assignment is so important. So here's the assignment: to write your own story. It says take some time and write out your story. Write down where you have been in bullet points. Share some of the hardest moments of your life. Then at the end, I want you to write in the largest letters possible, famine over, I am free. So think about that, because it's going to take some time. And when I was sitting down to do it, I had to relive some of those feelings of not being able to take care of a household. And you can ask almost any man, that's the thing that gives us probably the most anxiety, and some of the things that we're judged upon, whether it be our pride sometimes, like even if it damages us, that's some of the hardest things to do. So take time to sit down and really reflect on where you've been, and if what you're doing now is going to improve that situation. And then write your goal. How do you get from point A to point B? Think about it. It's small steps every single day. So that's your assignment. Events going on.
So just keep in mind, the rally is October 14th. If you have not gotten your tickets for that rally, make sure you get your tickets. If you need to take the day off, whatever you need to do to get you and your family at that rally. And your team. So it's so important that now you're promoting it. Now you're getting with people, helping them get their tickets, help them rearrange their schedule so they can be there. It is so important. If you are struggling to grow your team, take these events serious. If you don't take them serious, and if you're not at events, if you're not at classes, ain't nobody in your team gonna be either. Because if they see that, oh, well, there's these events going on, but blah, 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 don't ever invite me, or don't look like she ever show up to them, they're not gonna come either. And
I'm sorry, really quickly before we change here. And I just want to reiterate, the rallies are so important because to me, they're very different than the classes. Usually the classes are smaller, and sometimes that, oh, this is just you and young living. But when you get people to the rally, they get to see and meet people from all different walks of life. I think our last rally that we had over 100 people at that rally, and that was just in our little area. And people say they love that. They love coming to those types of environments. So even if you have not had a class in a while and you need to get with people, get them to the rally, because it's really going to be something for them to experience.
It was high energy. We open it up to everyone in the area, so there's plenty of cross-line people too. Like this YL family is huge, and there is something about the energy in a room that really helps move and motivate people. So get to that rally October 14th. Also, our last class this month is going to be September 29th, which is a Friday at 6:30 p.m. So if you, again, have people that need to just learn more about the oils, experience the oils, invite them out to that class. I know I'm doing a few more vendor events this month. Plug yourself in. Whatever you need to do to be consistent, do what you need to do. Again, our DNA Wellness YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed to that. So some of the Health Talk with the Mots, great things to send out to your team, great to send out to prospects. So again, they can see the whole community.
And like and subscribe. I found out about those like buttons on YouTube. So if you like what you hear, hit the like button and subscribe and share. But I think that's going to be it for tonight's call. Those listening on the replay, thank you for your time. You have your assignment for this week, and we'll see you guys on the next one. In the meantime, stay healthy, take care.
Appreciate you guys.
Good night.